And we're back, Adventure Blur here. Happy Halloween! Well, I'm gonna be honest here guys, this video is very different. Because what I'm talking about is different. Every game series has a dark theory about it. Look at Pokemon, it has Lavender Town. Then you have Zelda and the Majora's Mask theories about death. And then you have Mario with the Shiverburn Galaxy. Each one of these games has a dark theory about it. We just love finding theories that make something so lighthearted dark. It's something that we just love doing. But what I'm talking about today isn't a theory. This is all canon. Matter of fact, most of it we didn't know about until much more recently, because a lot of it only was in Japan until now. So today I'm going to talk about, in my opinion, the darkest part of the Sonic series. A story about revenge and trying to conquer death. This is the story of the Space Colony Ark in Project Shadow. Let's get started. Gerald Robotnik, one of the leading scientists at the time, was used to refusing calls from the president. The president wanted Gerald to be the head scientist in a new branch of research aboard the newly built space colony named Ark. Gerald, too busy to even consider going, refused. What the president wanted was insane. He wanted Gerald to find a way to give mankind immortality. To put in the president's words, mankind's ultimate eternal dream, researching for immortality. This was beyond mankind's limits. To him, some things shouldn't be tampered with. But then he found out about his granddaughter, Maria. Gerald learned that Maria had neuroimmunodeficiency syndrome, or NIDS. NIDS was an incurable and fatal disease. With Maria now having it, and the government wanting him to research immortality, Gerald saw this as a chance to both find a cure for Maria and help mankind. He decided to look at the plans and join what would eventually become Project Shadow. The name Project Shadow comes from the idea that you technically couldn't create a shadow, just like how most would believe you couldn't create immortality. Gerald and the other scientists weren't sure where to begin, so they went with the only way they could think of: legends. Gerald and the others went and researched the mystic ruins, though it didn't give them much results. The Chaos Emeralds were researched and helped them create a new source of energy called the Chaos Drives. And Gerald did find an ancient robot called a Geyzoid to use for later research, but that was about all they could get. By this point, most believed that the project was doomed to fail. But then Gerald had an idea. Inspired by a mural depicting perfect chaos destroying the world, Gerald decided to start the project by trying to recreate chaos, starting with Chaos Zero. Chao, after all, could reincarnate. And seeing as how Chaos is a mutated Chao, it'll be the perfect place to start. G.U.N was also interested in the Chaos Zero project, and demanded that they be created, so Gerald and the others went to work. They managed to create several prototypes of the Chaos life form, dubbed Artificial Chaos by the scientist. But it wasn't working as well as Gerald and the others had hoped. The artificial chaos were both dangerous and could still die very easily, though they could divide themselves into smaller cells. But that wasn't enough, so Gerald gave up on the artificial chaos and tried to find a different outlook on the project. Realizing that a lizard, which perfect chaos resembles, could be another star for creating immortality, Gerald told the other scientists his idea, and when they agreed, they began working on the first, true prototype for Project Shadow. And at 12:30 a.m. on January 27th, the first prototype, the Bio-Lizard, was born. As stated in Sonic Adventure 2, the Bio-Lizard was a huge success. With it using the previously created Chaos Drives for life support, the Bio-Lizard was able to heal itself quickly and use Chaos Control. Unfortunately, the scientists miscalculated when they created the Bio-Lizard, and it began to grow rapidly. So much so that they had to move it to the central dome for research, and reinforce the life support. At first, the Bio-Lizard was considered a success by everyone, so most would assume that Gerald would continue working on it, but he didn't. Gerald wasn't satisfied with the Bio-Lizard. Yes, it did work, but it was more of a monster than a cure. The Bio-Lizard was very unstable as well, with it being more of an animal than anything else. It was confused and strong, a combination that worried Gerald and the others. The scientists were mixed on it. They created something that is, in theory, immortal, but the Bio-Lizard could harm everyone on board the Ark. Some scientists tried to reason with Gerald and convince him to close down the project, but Gerald was hesitant about ending the project after something so close to success. And in the background of all of this, someone let slip everything to G.U.N. Though we don't know who, someone told G.U.N about the destruction that the bio-lizard could cause on the Ark. G.U.N, not trusting Gerald after the shady cancellation of the artificial chaos, began to make plans in case something went wrong. Codenamed Ark's Indestructible Seal, the plan was to, if Project Shadow went too far, send out G.U.N soldiers to take the Ark and discreetly shut down all of the research. With the plan made, all it took was the right time for it to happen. Meanwhile, Gerald and the others reached the conclusion that the bio-lizard was too dangerous, so they went back to researching another carving they found. One of a hedgehog and a monster fighting over what appeared to be an emerald. They also decided to try to incorporate the Geyzoid they found into the designs as well. With these things in mind, and Maria's condition getting worse, Gerald began work on the next test for the ultimate life form. The plans began to fall through though, with each experiment failing. Soon, everyone was waiting, once again, for Gerald to finally end the project. But then, when all hope seemed lost, the Black Comet appeared. The Black Comet is a comet that passes by Earth, or Mobius, every 50 years. When it passed by the Ark, Gerald noticed that something was on it. So he tried to contact it and see who or what was on it. That's when he met Black Doom. Learning that Gerald and the others needed help, the alien, Black Doom, came with an offer for Gerald. He would give Gerald everything he needed in order to create the ultimate life form. And in return, Gerald would find the 7 Chaos Emeralds and give them to Black Doom in 50 years. Gerald agreed with the deal and began to secretly work with Black Doom. Gerald didn't trust Black Doom and quietly made plans to set up Doom's downfall. Gerald and the others began to create weapons, claiming that they were for the government when, in reality, they were for destroying the Black Comet. Gerald built a weapon onto the front of the colony. It was made to look somewhat harmless at first glance, looking more like satellite towers than anything else. But, when given the 7 Chaos Emeralds, could open and fire destructive blasts that could potentially destroy an entire planet. It was a weapon that could pierce stars, the Eclipse Cannon. Eventually, Gerald and Black Doom figured out that by using Black Doom's blood, they could create life, and by using it, the ultimate life form was born. He needed a name, so Gerald named him after the namesake for the project, Shadow. Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow was a success. He was fast, strong, immune to diseases. He was truly the ultimate life form. After creating Shadow, Black Doom left with the promise that he would return for the Chaos Emeralds. Before he left, however, a young boy saw Black Doom with Gerald. The boy panicked and spread the news around the Ark about what was created. Soon, G.U.N found out. After the bio-lizard, the artificial chaos, and now Black Doom, they had enough and initiated Ark's Indestructible Seal. During the week that followed, Gerald introduced Shadow to Maria and told Maria to teach Shadow all about Earth. Maria and Shadow became close friends, and soon Shadow began to wonder what it was truly like down there on Earth. With Gerald continuing his research and Shadow being a success, it seemed like everything was finally going right. Then, G.U.N arrived. They came in when no one was expecting it. First, they sabotaged the research centers on the Ark. After the panic began, they evacuated the civilians and went to find the scientists. Not to help them, but to capture them, using lethal force if necessary. When Gerald found out about this, he knew he didn't have much time. Gerald knew that G.U.N didn't trust them that they knew about Doom, but he never thought it would come to this. After making a small video to warn Shadow of Black Doom and what was to come, Gerald sent Maria to escape with Shadow while he held off G.U.N. Maria and Shadow rushed to the escape pods, with G.U.N soldiers right behind them. When they finally reached it, however, Maria knew that they wouldn't have time to both get in. Maria put Shadow into an escape pod, made him promise to give humans a second chance, and, with a G.U.N soldier demanding that she stand down, released the escape pod. The last thing Shadow saw before going to Earth was a gun going off, and Maria falling to the ground. Gerald saw an escape pod jettison from the Ark, which meant that Shadow and Maria should have escaped. So, believing that they were okay, he went to work. He tried to fend off G.U.N, but was eventually captured and brought to Prison Island. While there, Gerald found a list of the names of those who died on the Ark. Then he found her name, Maria. Maria, the girl he risked everything for, the reason for Project Shadow. was dead. Then, G.U.N brought in an escape pod with unconscious Shadow still inside. Gerald was forced to complete Project Shadow and whatever G.U.N wanted in secret, while the world blamed him for the so-called accident aboard the Ark. Though G.U.N thought that Gerald was completing Project Shadow, Gerald was doing more. Much more. Maria's death made Gerald insane. All he could think about in his every waking moment was revenge. Revenge on the humans he once loved. The humans he did so much for. The humans who took his granddaughter away. While he was confined to his work, he made a program into the Ark. One that, when the time was right and the 7 Chaos Emeralds were put into the Eclipse Cannon, would send the Ark straight at the Earth, killing both those on the Ark and the world. It was a cruel plan, to kill those who would kill while it's still killing everyone. Gerald needed a catalyst though, and someone who would make sure his plan succeeded no matter what. Gerald made the last touches on Project Shadow, but changed Shadow's memories. Instead of being the peaceful guardian that he planned, Gerald made Shadow hate humans. He made Shadow remember Maria's death, and a different promise. Not a promise for happiness, but for revenge. Then Gerald made the final fixes to his plan. He made the prototype of the ultimate life form, the Bio-Lizard, the guardian of the Eclipse Cannon, so that, in case someone realized his plan and tried to stop it, they would be destroyed by the beast. As time passed, G.U.N was unsure how trustworthy Gerald would be. They knew he wanted revenge, but from where and how? They decided that they could no longer use his knowledge and that he was too dangerous, decided to execute him. Gerald, with only minutes to live, gave them his plan. Gerald let them know what they did, what happened to him, and what was coming. Then it was over. Gerald and Maria were gone. Shadow was captured and imprisoned, and the space colony Ark was abandoned. Everything worked out well for G.U.N. The only thing the Ark would be remembered for was an accident and an old man. At least, that's what they believed. 50 years later, the grandson of Gerald Robotnik came to Prison Island after reading in his grandfather's diary that there was a secret weapon hidden inside. Dr. Eggman found and released Shadow. Shadow played his part perfectly, telling Eggman to get the Chaos Emeralds and bring them to the Ark. Then Shadow went and caused destruction, stealing a Chaos Emerald and escaping. G.U.N was shocked. They had Shadow hidden for so long, and now everyone saw him. They needed a scapegoat. Someone the public knew who could be blamed for what Shadow was doing. And that's when they decided on who would work best. To the world he was a hero, but that could be changed. G.U.N used the media to make it look like it was Sonic the Hedgehog, not Shadow, who was causing all of this. Then they captured Sonic, beginning the events that would be Sonic Adventure 2. And that was the story of Project Shadow. I know it was very, very, very dark. But I feel like if I didn't explain it how it should have been explained, it would be an insult to the story. I mean, this is a dark story, the darkest in the Sonic series, and in my opinion, one of the darkest stories out of any game I can think of. And plus it's Halloween, so I can kind of get away with being, in the immortal words of the Flying Dutchman,
Ooh, scary. No!
Thank you so much for watching this video. Like I just said, this is a very dark video and a very dark story. So I'm glad that we were able to bring the subject to light. Another joke, come on guys, this wasn't even a dark video, we kind of needed something. If you enjoyed the story of Project Shadow, I highly recommend looking into it, because there's still a lot that we don't know, and it's just such an interesting subject, one that really isn't talked about that much. If you enjoyed this video, check out my Sonic Chaos video right here. With Sonic Forces just around the corner, you may need a refresher, so, Chaos is a great character, go check it out. Or maybe you want something lighthearted after this entire video. I highly recommend my Orange video right here. It's weird, but in the best way possible. Anyways, this is Adventure Blur, and happy Halloween!